Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to an LFA vet, a King of the Cage veteran, a dang near veteran of like close to 30 fights. My goodness, he is Jeff, the administrator, Peterson. Jeff, what's going on?
How's it going, Adam?
Dude,
Doing pretty good, man. Can't complain.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And a hearty shout out goes to our good friend, Dane Donovan, for setting
Thanks,
this
Dane.
all together.
Yep, appreciate it, Dane. Dane's actually been trying to help get me a fight. The fighting landscape right now for everybody is just crazy. So Dane's been just helping me reach out to promoters and people like yourself who want to, give us fighters a voice. So, he's been trying to help me get a fight. And so far, we're not successful, but still trying, still training.
Yeah, and it's a weird one, right? Because it's not for the lack of effort about not getting fights and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a cornerman and a coach, at Alliance East, right? So with that all being said, you had, looking down the pipeline of what 2020 was supposed to be, January 1st, you were probably wanting to and itching to get fights yourself, one,
Yeah.
and then also get some of maybe your amateurs fights on the amateur scene, which was burgeoning here in California, like from literally pillar to post, NorCal, SoCal, just had everything going on. And then
Yeah.
maybe even getting your amateurs to the pro levels and get them
Exactly.
established, in some of the places that you cut your teeth, like King of the Cage and Bellator and LFA, and all that, within, a couple months' time, it went awry and it still has ceased to return. And we even saw this past Saturday, we had Fearless Women MMA 7 down in Mexico.
That's
And
right.
the Camo Crew, and for those who don't know, the California Amateur Mixed Martial Arts Organization, better known as Camo, they're the regulatory body in amateur
Okay,
MMA.
great sanctioning body for sure.
Yes, absolutely. But a lot of the luminaries basically ventured to Mexico, to officiate this incredible card that you can find at fearlesswomenmma.com, just in case you're wondering. But they even them, the referees and officials and quarter people, they hadn't worked in a year, which is crazy.
There's states right now, a few states popping up that are holding fights regularly, but for the most part out here, it seems like Arizona is kind of up and down, and Nevada, same thing, kind of up and down. We were supposed to do a jiu-jitsu tournament next weekend. Our team in Arizona, and they just pushed the date back again. So, yeah, man, it's getting rough to find competitions, but it seems like right now, the closest to us in San Diego, like Mexico and Arizona, are the places to go, and Vegas, of course. I'm sure they're having some smaller shows here and there.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. But I've even known folks like Richie Miranda, as well as like Nick Patea out of Eric Paulson's CSW headquarters, in Fullerton. They had to. Well, I believe that Richie was already pro, and he turned pro shortly after. Shortly before 2020. But like Nick Patea and a litany of other amateurs had to essentially, out of necessity, go pro because that was the only thing that they could basically get fights in, and to get their bearings in and stay ready. That's kind of what you had to do.
Yeah. Right now, a lot of crazy things are happening in in the fight game. I definitely have some amateurs that I know that in their mind now, since they've been training through this quarantine, they're like, man, I've been training hard. I'm not going back to amateurs now. When I finally get a fight again, I want to do a pro fight. So it's kind of, maybe accelerated some amateurs, but on the other end, I think a lot of pros that are maybe a little bit older, they might be thinking about not fighting anymore. They might be thinking about hanging it up, at least for the guys that are like me that are just haven't been able to get a fight for over a year. Those guys that are, maybe they were 34, 35, 36 years old. They were right on the cusp of making it to UFC, Bellator, and now the pandemic happens, and they're like, man, maybe I'm just going to do other stuff now.
Now, as somebody who is, in a coach position, right? How hard is it to keep people motivated in the gym now that there's not like a light at the end of the tunnel? Like I'm training for, a fight, a competition. How hard has it been for you to kind of manage the feelings?
Man, that is a tough one. There are, there's a lot of guys that they definitely train harder when they have something to work towards. But one good thing about the pandemic was after the big quarantine was done, a lot of the guys, a lot of the Alliance East crew wanted to get back in the gym, and those guys that really did dedicate, I went through this speech with them. I'm like, hey man, there's probably not going to be competitions for a while, but when there is, we gotta be ready. And this is the kind of time where when we don't have a competition coming up, you don't have this thing that you have to work towards. You can just work on making yourself better overall. Work on your holes, work on your vulnerabilities, sharpen the tools you already have, but just take this time to get better. And the guys that followed through on that and really put in work during this time, it's going to pay off once we get some competitions.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, Nate Wren of Podium Sports, shout out to Nate Wren. He says, "How did you get the nickname Administrator?" Which, I mean, I just on your speech, I kind of get it, but fill us in for what we don't know, Jeff.
I served in the U.S. Marine Corps from when I was 18 till I was 22. During that time, I was fighting still, and I was a legal admin in the Marine Corps. So I did just administrative stuff to keep it simple. I did administrative stuff. All the guys around the building started to come to my fights, and then they started calling me the administrator. It was just like a fight name. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's the administrator right there." And then it just kind of got known. It was pretty cool. For a while when I was out in Virginia, I had a lot of military support, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, the name stuck, and no one else has the nickname, so yeah, I'm the administrator.
I love it. I love it. It's one of the many things that I'm sure that you learn from the U.S. Marine Corps. One of the many values that you taken, but also in a world of combat sports where there's like 1,000 beasts. Or and nothing against that or whatever, but like, what is going to make you more beastie than somebody else that also has that moniker? Or you didn't go like way weird like Ray Borg. Ray Borg had a layup. His last name is Borg. Like, that's legit. You could have been Cyborg, right? But you go with Taz Mexican Devil. What are we doing?
Yeah.
That is, I mean, honest to goodness, that is, and no disrespect to Ray Borg, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. He's since retired to take care of his son. So amazing dude. But like, that is almost the Alan Belcher bad Johnny Cash tattoo looking like prune face from Dick Tracy of fighter nicknames.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, there are some good ones. I can't think of some good ones. Yeah. But the administrator, it stuck. I like it.
Yeah,
Everyone seems to like it.
I think it suits you well.
I'm,
Which I
I'm
oh,
not
go ahead.
an actual administrator now. I try to keep my hands off of paperwork, but
And then maybe your hands on people's faces. That's
that's right. That's right.
yeah.
I administer beatings.
Yes. See? And that's where the name fits. And again, no one else has it. And anybody who takes that moniker after you, right? They have
Yeah, I'm
to.
gonna be like, who is this guy? This guy thinks he can administrate?
Yes.
Please.
Yes. You could regulate the administration.
That's right.
See?
Like, dude, these elbows been administrating since you were in middle school.
Yes. See, that's it. And see when a lot of people talk, and I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, but when people are talking about like MMA borrowing from wrestling and whatever, they think it's a let me tell you something, brother, or
I do.
and it's yeah, I mean, it's good. It works, because essentially, at the end of the day, whether you're a fighter, whether you're a figure skater, whether you're a pro wrestler, here's the gimmick: is you are there to put an ass in every 18 inches, right?
Yeah.
So whatever that is, to be the Pied Piper, to basically bring people more revenue to you, the promotion, and what have you. Well, that's pay dirt.
Yeah. It's a tricky thing for sure. The being an entertainer as well as just being an athlete and being a fighter. It's just a crazy mental roller coaster when you're in a professional fight. So those guys that have those gimmicks where they're saying all these things and acting a certain way while also able to keep it together mentally for their fight, like, kudos to them. That's it's not an easy thing to do to be like keep the like a Hulk Hogan personality going on while you're 10 minutes away from the biggest fight of your life.
Yeah, no, 100%. And guess what? I mean, we found out with Deontay Wilder to do a WWE-esque, entrance right before a world title fight. Might not be the best idea.
Yeah.
You might be gassed by the time you get to the ring in the cage.
Yeah, sometimes you can have like the anxiety of acting a certain way with the camera on you gives you actually more anxiety and more nerves than the fight itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta guys like Chael Sonnen and the good talkers and good personalities. Those guys are, man.
Yeah, but the thing about Chael Sonnen and Ben Askren after him and all these, a lot of people forget, right? Just because of like how maybe Chael's title aspirations went, or the Askren and the Masvidal knee. But these two are world class wrestlers. Don't get it twisted. It's like if anybody's going to earn the right, those guys, 100%. I'm pointing at those guys, right?
Yeah.
So, and Nate Wren says mine is Diablo Blanco, which, I mean, Nate Wren was actually, this is fact, was riding bulls last night, like a 2,000 pound bull. Like, I don't know who does that, but he did. My goodness. Wow.
Yeah. We actually have, now that you mentioned that, we actually have a kid. He's on our kids wrestling team now, and that's like his other sport. He rides like bull rides, and yeah, it's crazy. He goes to competitions. It makes you wrestling awesome.
Yes, because again, shout
out Kristen.
Shout out Kristen. Like, and again, that's it. If you can have top control over like a bucking wild bull, imagine how your top game in jiu-jitsu is gonna be. Come on.
Exactly. It's crazy. It's that's something you don't think about when you're first getting into martial arts, but later on, if you're coaching people, you'll see the the different backgrounds they had, whatever sport they did or some activity they did as a kid, or maybe through high school, you find a way, it exposes itself in your martial arts somehow. All of a sudden someone will throw a kick a certain way, and I'm like, whoa, what was that? You said you never done martial arts before. They're like, oh, I did gymnastics and cheer or something. I'm like, oh, that's why you can throw your leg that way. I get it.
Yeah. That dexterity.
Soccer players got a good low kick.
Oh yeah, Jose Aldo. Good Lord.
Exactly.
Right? Which, I mean, you talked about, the exposure to martial arts and mixed martial arts, right? So, I mean, for you, what was your exposure? Did you know about the UFC? Did you know about it, or did that come by way of, your military experience?
And I think I had an interest in the Rocky movies when I was a kid. Just the training, like the training videos. Imagining yourself like, man, that'd be cool, having that the whole city running behind you, while you're training for a fight. And I don't know. I guess I played some fighting games when I was a kid, but it was more later on. Maybe I was in high school, I started watching actual boxing, and then when WEC was a big thing, I started watching WEC. So I was watching like Brock Larson, Carlos Condit, Uriah Faber, of course, Dominic Cruz, all those guys in WEC. And then, man, I started. It's funny how I got started into martial arts. It was more, I got interested in fighting, was probably the way to put it, more than, hey, I want to be a martial artist. It was like, man, I want to scrap.
Yeah.
So I started off just me and my buddies. We would have boxing gloves, so we'd have little matches at home, punching each other. And then I guess I realized that I was tough enough, or I had a knack for it. And then my dad actually had me go and meet one of his friends who was, boxed when he was a kid and was just looking for a workout partner. So this guy taught me just the basics of boxing and taught me my stance. And then from there, I just found my way onto, and it's hard to call them a gym. It was more, they were like a fight club, because we're talking way up north in Wisconsin in 2007. Like, martial arts still isn't developed there, but it definitely isn't what it is in California. You know what I mean? So my gym back then was the upstairs of a post office, and we had probably like 2 10x10 wrestling mats and like one punching bag, one of those ones that's like on a spring that you hit and it's like,
yeah.
But had a few motivated guys there that were all older than me. I was like the youngest guy on the crew, and they kind of they beat me down when I first joined, to just to let me know that I couldn't have an ego in there. But yeah, my first gym, and more of a fight club. But shortly into it, I had my first fight, I think 5 months into my initial like real training, I suppose. So it was right after I turned 18, probably about 3 or 4 weeks. Just graduated high school, and then next thing you know, I'm in a cage in Green Bay making my debut.
It was that debut in MMA?
That was in MMA, yeah. It was crazy, because this is, like I said, in 2007, 2008, MMA wasn't what it is now. So regulations and everything were just, it's the wild, wild west. So my first fight was full rules. I'm talking, I had 4-ounce gloves on, no shin guards, no knee pads, no nothing. It's a full MMA fight. The only thing, it goes on my amateur record, and it's 3-minute rounds instead of 5s. But other than that, it was everything goes. You could knee the face, you could elbow the face. Like, it's full on MMA.
Whoa,
yeah, so it's not like it is now. Like it is
Right.
now, we can go up in nice progressive steps, but back then, those options weren't available. It was like, here, oh, you want to fight? Here you go.
Well, it's kind of fun, right? In retrospect, to think because you're a tenured young vet, right? You've got a lot of experience in your youth, right? But I mean, you've got like maybe 70 years worth of experience and maybe what like a 20 some odd, 30 some odd, experience, right? So, but I mean, your story isn't too different than a lot of UFC Hall of Famers nowadays, right? Like the Frank Triggs and the like
Mm.
we said, the Uriah Faber. Obviously, he have an amazing amateur wrestling pedigree behind him. But those like, hey, you want to fight? You want to fight? Let's do this stuff. And it's funny because like we've almost reverted back to that because we're doing stuff like street beefs and all of this stuff kind of gain notoriety. But I mean,
Yeah,
it wasn't too far from what Dan Severn or Randy Couture kind of got into
yeah,
when they first got into No Holds Barred.
yeah. I'm sure those guys all fought they fought in cages behind hotels, and they
Hmm.
fought on cages set up in a basketball court. I'm sure they've done their share of those backyard fights.
Oh yeah. Oh, there was a little bit of time that we spent in Las Cruces, New Mexico, as me and my family, my parents, me and my sister, and I remember it was funny because we checked into a Holiday Inn. And there was a lot of scuttlebutt happening, right? And there
Yeah.
was like a cage and just like basically floodlights, like, kind of shining down. And it was that night's Tough Man competition, and the main event was this guy named Butterbean. So, and where our hotel was, like we were just positioned where we could look. People were paying $50 even in like the like mid to late '90s for it, and we were basically, I think it was like 95, 94, 95, but we got to see right into what was the ring and everything like that, and they were like kicking each other and doing whatever, and like again, think about early '90s or mid
Yeah,
'90s.
yeah,
You don't kick in a ring. That doesn't
yeah,
happen.
yeah. Stuff is just not regulated like it is now. But I'm a fan of fights being regulated for the most part. I don't I,
No.
I don't like the unregulated shows. I've had too many bad experiences with small shows that they're, for whatever reason, the state or they're on a reservation or something
Yep.
like that, where they don't have to follow any kind of regulations, even the ones that are there to protect the fighter. That's
Exactly.
I've had too many bad experiences, fights falling through, people not getting paid, uh, last minute changes to the card and all that stuff. That's where regulations are a nice thing, but
Yeah.
where
Or maybe
regulations are a bad thing is when we can't get fights together at all.
exactly. I mean, it's bad when it's like somebody who bought a ticket to the fights and like, hey, you look like you're about the weight that we need for the guy who fell out. Hey,
Yep.
we'll buy you beer and comp your ticket. You want to fight? And
Yeah.
that's what happens, right? And
Yeah.
but then there's the ugly side, right? Or in New York State, right, for a long time. I mean, Joe
Mhm.
Rogan famously talks about the kind of the reconfiguration from New York to Dothan, Alabama, because they put the kibosh on anything anything of that sort, and it's just like how many people from the time, this is what, early '90s, early to mid '90s, to when they finally eventually got the regulation, how many people died, literally died, or had irreversible injuries because they fought on unsanctioned underground shows.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that's New York. That's like New York, like the Big Apple. Like what are we doing, But yeah, which and it's funny because Jokic over on YouTube says that sounds so hardcore. it should be for some of these amateur prima donnas. So, I mean, there are obviously different sides of the scale here, and regulated, good. Hard and gritty come up though is also good, right? What's good is the balance between a hard come up and safe regulated career. No,
Yeah.
100%. You should have a little bit of grit. A little bit of grit goes a long way in anything, fighting or not, but also to keep you safe. You don't want
Yeah.
anybody jacked to the gills that might be from a pharmacy, and you don't have that advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. Is in all of my fighting experience, I've only been drug tested prior to a fight. All my professional fights, maybe twice. Out of 17
Whoa.
pro fights, athletic commissions have only made me pee in a cup before the fight, maybe twice. And that's
Wow.
like, to me, like I'm like, oh, whatever. Oh, you want me to do this? Okay, that's fine. Like, I have no problem with it. But then I know for sure there's definitely teams that are taking advantage of that. For sure.
Yeah, and and if you're gonna do that, it's just like I almost respect the way that Pride did it, right? Where everybody could do it, not like
Yeah.
Well, but
Yeah.
the thing
Okay.
about it is like advantages, right? You're
Yeah.
supposed to mitigate damages, right? Or yeah, mitigate damages. So if you're going to say this happens, like even the agreed upon weight, you talked about regulation and all that stuff. I think weight cutting, right? Weight cutting is something in namely the UFC, right? And Dana White's quest for being regulated to be, essentially considered along the lines of boxing and amateur wrestling, that we brought in weight cutting, right? But
Yeah.
what's the point of the weight cut when nobody is the actual weight that is on the marquee, on the poster, by the time they step into the ring in the cage? What are we
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Weight cutting's getting a little bit crazy.
It's
Uh,
horrible.
and I'm right on. I've bounced between two weight classes my whole career, and I've done the really big weight cuts, and I've also had the easy weight cuts where it was like, oh, that was cake. I bet my opponent really suffered. But then I've had it where I've been on the other end where I'm like, man, I know that dude did not cut weight like I did, and I know
Hmm.
I'm also going to be a lot bigger the next day than him. But man, yeah, the more stuff I read and research and just what I've done with my own body, I'm sliding towards not liking the drastic weight cuts as much. A size advantage is a great thing, but at what cost?
Exactly. At what cost? And the fact of the matter is, right? Like you might make weight for that fight. Cool, right? Your kidneys have irreversible damages. Your internal
But
organs have
kidneys in your liver, yeah.
right, exactly, and the susceptibility to getting hit because of the
Mhm.
hydration, and it's not just like the dehydration of your body during the weight cut, but it's also in 24 hours basically rehydrating yourself,
Yeah,
right?
your brain doesn't fully recover in that 24 hours time. Your muscles blow up, and you fill back up with water, but they say anyways your brain doesn't make that quick bounce back.
Right. And again, if you're in a fight, like what is the point? Because essentially you're supposed to show your skill up against somebody else who
Mm.
has skills, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes it's a striker versus a grappler, but sometimes, it's like oftentimes we'll see, maybe if somebody's ranked above you in the same weight class and then you're ranked there, you guys clash to kind of settle supremacy, right? And
yeah,
that's what it should be. But when somebody has an unnecessary advantage, that's where it gets all weird, right? Because
yeah,
nobody really fights the best version of their opponent.
yeah, yeah. That's true. You fight the version that can bounce back best from a weight cut. You know,
Hmm.
um, yeah, it's crazy. The one thing that I'm seeing, at least in the states, is they're having a second weigh-in. They're having,
Yeah.
you weigh in on weigh-in day on Friday, but then on fight day on Saturday you do a second check-in, and then they check your weight, and you have to be within, it's like within 8 to 10% of what you weighed in at. I think that's a step in the right direction, but it's, man, for the guys that do big weight cuts, that just hurts them further. Which I get. They're trying to influence you to not do such a big weight cut, but for the guys that do, then having that second weigh-in doesn't help them at all. It actually just makes them dehydrate a little longer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, anybody who's been around a fighter around weight cut time,
Yeah.
not the best of experience.
Yeah. It's I wish we could all just have an agreement to be like, all right, guys, let's knock it off with this big weight cutting. Everybody, does everybody agree? Everyone says, yep, and then we just make it happen.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think I hope what one championship over in Asia is
Yep.
doing. Like
One's got to
yeah.
go.
Yeah, and we get closer and closer to it. I mean, California State Athletic Commission, before COVID, they started to do the same hydration type tests and the neurological tests. I was talking to Felicia O at a couple shows. Who's a official here and a John Jacques Machado black belt. I think she's the very first female John Jacques Machado black belt who's basically cut weight her entire career in martial arts and she's just like, yeah, we're not only are we doing the hydration test, but also, we're doing the neurological, because you could be hydrated and then the neurological isn't there. So, and that was instituted like right before, like November of 2019, going into 2020, and then.
Yep, no, yeah, put a halt to that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the MMA superfan, because you competed in a couple different weight classes, but in your opinion, who do you think is the best fighter in your particular weight classes?
You're looking at him.
I was hoping you went that way.
No, man, the best fighter at 70. Man, I mean, right now it's I got to just go by what's going on in the UFC, really. I mean, Kamaru Usman's number one as of right now for the foreseeable future until another contender arises. Right next to him, of course, Wonder Boy, one of the best. He's probably up next, man. 170, and at least in the UFC and really just in general, is just murder's row. Any show you fight for Bellator, you fight for UFC, you fight for ONE, you fight for LFA, CFFC, the top tier guys at 170 and 155, and all those shows are just going to be killers.
Yeah, it's and I love that, right? The fact that there's, I mean, you even look at the dominance of Amanda Nunes this past weekend, right? Like, there's amazing talent in every division, at every company, amateur to pro, like all over the world. Like, I just found out that Alaska has, obviously before COVID, had a burgeoning scene of five pro regional shows.
Yeah, there's a show it's called like AFC. It's Alaska Fighting Championship. Yep.
Yeah.
Like, sweet, dude, they're having like Alaska versus Alaska over there.
Uh-huh. Oh, and it's, good friend of the show, the AFC 145-pound champion, Tyson Duckworth. And, you kind of look in his social media, like the production value, and that's the cool thing, is being able to sell to the They are, they are on Fight Pass. Yeah. But even the production level, it makes your champion, and to me, I feel like you have to have the will to win as a fighter, as even in pro wrestling, right? You never have to stop losing the will to win, because if you do, well, that makes your opponent look like trash. That makes
Yeah,
if it's for a championship, well, it makes the championship look like trash because you you kind of don't want it, right?
yeah,
So the production is an all-encompassing thing, and it boosts the at least the perception of the promotion and its fighters
yeah,
to the public.
yeah, yeah. Production for a lot of shows, especially pretty much all the shows that are on Fight Pass now got like, I don't know, it was like they all got a boost in production. They're like, hey, you want to run your show through Fight Pass? Yeah, we're gonna make sure you got good cameras. you know, and yeah, because I've definitely fought on the shows that I swear they just had like lights on one side of the cage. So it was like if you were circled to this side of the cage, you're getting a light blasted in your eyes, and then you circle over to the other side and it's like dark. You know, and fought like that. So thanks, thank you shows for the good production value helps fighters.
Man, and again, there's so many things that go into fighting, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's your coaches. I like to think of it as a renaissance, right? You're seeing the fighters' kind of ideology of what should happen, the coach's ideology via the fighter, the promoters, how they see the presentation of MMA, the refs, and everything like that, and we all kind of come together and converge on one night to kind of, even the photographers, different
yeah,
photographers getting different shots, and the announcers and interviewers, like all of our collective experiences converge on one night and this special
yeah,
thing happens.
yeah. It's sick, man. I miss it. Like, man, normally at this time right now, it's March, we would have just finished wrestling season for the kids, and then man, March is usually fight time. There's fights for March, April, May, June.
Yeah.
So man, I'm hoping things can start to get back to normal and we can start getting everybody busy at the gym because, like I said, we got a great crew at Alliance East. They've been staying ready, and man, we're itching for PKB, for some amateur MMA fights,
Yeah.
for some jiu-jitsu tournaments. We're itching and we're ready.
Absolutely. To which a couple of your students here, Jeffrey Cran says, "Hey, Coach Jeff."
Hey, that's
Yes,
awesome.
yes, and
Oh man,
Kylie Stanley goes, "Hey,
that's
hi, Coach Jeff."
awesome. Hey, hi Kylie. Hi.
Yes,
Oh, that's
uh,
awesome. Yeah, they're students at the gym. That's
that's
awesome.
tremendous, and shout out to you too. You guys are doing good work, and Coach Jeff is absolutely proud of you.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, guys. Oh,
Yeah. Yes. Now, the MMA superfan says, in terms of the 170, he's going to throw Gegard Mousasi and say he's one of the best. One would argue that.
for sure.
Yeah.
Gegard's a middleweight and a light heavyweight.
Oh, yes. He's a middleweight. There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
definitely one of the best for sure. Yeah,
Yes.
Musasi's a beast actually across three different platforms now. He was killing it in Strikeforce,
Hmm.
killed it in the UFC, and now he's killing it in Bellator. He's just, yeah, Musasi's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes,
Well
he is.
rounded too, super well rounded.
Absolutely. Now, our good friend, the great
Hey,
Harvey Cassis, shout out to Jeff for bringing high level Alliance East Warriors to my cage. And that
thanks,
cage is Epic Fighting. So, shout
Harvey.
out to Harvey. And
Yeah,
then Jeffrey says, yes, we are. We're ripped and ready to go. I'm just saying.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Little Jeff there's been itching for a fight too.
Now, obviously, as a fighter yourself, right? There's a certain pride that pardon the pun, right? But there's a certain pride that you carry in your own exploits and what you've accomplished in your own career. But as you've transitioned to coach, in trench with you fighting yourself, what do you have like? Oh, me fighting is better, or like the rush of coaching somebody to greatness. Like,
Uh,
can you measure it?
Man, it's I think a lot of guys feel this way, but I'm definitely more nervous when someone who I trained or someone that I'm really close to, when I'm in their corner, it's harder for me to keep it together for sure than it is for myself. But I think that's just because when you're fighting yourself for yourself, you can just say how you feel and tell your coaches, man, I'm nervous right now, you know. But when you're the coach and your fighter's about to fight, you can't look at your fighter and be like, I'm nervous right now, man, because that's you know what I mean. It's gonna make him lose it, you know. Instead, I just look at him and I'm like, we're gonna kill this guy, dude. Let's get it, you know. But
I,
uh,
yeah.
the rush is similar, you know. When your fighter loses, you feel it, but when they win, man, you feel it too. And
I
it's definitely, yeah, it's real cool to be a coach, uh,
no,
right alongside with being a fighter.
I love that too because you're basically and the synergy, right? And this is something that you as a fighter yourself understand, that the synergy of the coach and fighter relationship, it is crucial, and also the team, right? Because
Yeah,
you are entrusting these people to prepare you for war, right? So you can't wonder about, like, if you're going to get friendly fired on or what have you, when you have to go and complete a task in your own right. So when you have that synergy within the team, within the coach, within the fighter, like, that's where the magic happens.
yeah, and that's why it's just important to just stay in the gym. You know, if you know who your cornermen are, you know, when you tell yourself, man, if I get a fight, these are going to be my cornermen. Those you want to be training with them. You know, you want to be around them because it's a relationship. There's a trust. There's a connection, and that all needs to be there. You don't want to feel awkward or be hanging out with somebody that you just haven't really spent time with on fight day, because on fight day, in case anyone doesn't know this, you spend a lot of time sitting around. So you want to be sitting there with someone you know that you're cool with, and that you've spent a lot of time with, especially spent a lot of time with in the fighting environment or in the martial arts environment.
No, I agree. I agree. Um, and a little bit of a redaction, but you don't have to apologize. But the MMA superfan says sorry. I thought Musasi was 170. No, no harm,
It's
no
all good.
foul.
It's all
All
good.
good. Yeah. Which, I, my goodness, I mean, your fighting career has, I mean, it started out in above a post office in Wisconsin, but has landed you at Alliance East in sunny Southern California.
Yep.
Like, how did that happen?
Uh, Man. Well, like I said, I fought a little bit right when I got out of high school. I went to the Marine Corps. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was fighting in Virginia. Had a few fights out there, and then when it was time for me to turn pro, my buddy Matt Van Buren, shout out to Gutter, uh, he was training at Alliance out in California, and I was still in Virginia, you know, talking to him. I'm like, man, I really want to get some good training before my first pro fight. And he said, hey, come out to Alliance, and you can train at the gym and stay at the gym. So I did, and then before you know it, I'm packed up and moved out to California, and just kind of made it happen. stayed at
What?
the I stayed at the gym so long that I just outlasted everyone else, and now I'm the head coach.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, was that always at Alliance East, or did you go to the
So
main?
yeah, initially, yeah, we called at East, we call the other Alliance headquarters Alliance Chula Vista. Um, yeah, it started there. I trained there for many years, and then there was the East County the East County branch, or like sister gym, opened up, I think, in maybe 2011, 2012, and I met a coach who was coaching out there, Coach Frank. Shout out to Coach Frank Salgado. I went out there, started working with him, and then I was done with the Marine Corps, so I was going to college at the time, and needed a job, and a sales job opened up at Alliance East. So I was like, not really what I wanted to do, but I was like, I'll take any opportunity to work at a gym, And then before you know it, I was covering classes once in a while, and then I just I guess I was so responsible that I just kept getting more responsibilities, and then before you know it, I'm doing important stuff for the gym, and yeah.
Which
Now
again,
Alliance East is doing great. We've got a good crew of coaches, got a good crew of members. We got a lot of amateur fighters that are going to be coming up. Yeah.
which again, earning every bit of your administrator, moniker. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying, that's putting in the hard work, putting in the dedication.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, while I was during all this time, all the coaching plus the doing the other jobs I did for the gym, I was fighting that entire time too, and that was my way to stay in the gym. I was like, well, if I gotta work however many hours a day, why don't I just make it so that I gotta work at the gym?
It makes
That's
sense.
yeah.
Makes
So
perfect sense.
like when
What
I'm not training for a fight, then I'll be helping other people with their martial arts, and helping other people get ready for their own fights. So
I
uh,
I love that.
yeah, a lot of the aspiring fighters out there that are listening, make sure if you wanna end up having a job as a martial artist, you gotta be at the gym, stick around the gym, and be there so long that eventually you get a job.
No, 100%, 100%. Now, you're a WEC fan, right? And you going to the headquarters, right? Alliance headquarters, HQ. I mean, I think it's synonymous with one former WEC champion, Dominic the Dominator Cruz, right? So, what was the scene like? Who was there, during that time?
Ah, man, when I first got to Alliance, it was in 2012. So around that time, I think Dom that had just finished the Ultimate Fighter,
Ah,
the live Ultimate Fighter versus Uriah Faber. So
yes.
so that was one of the things that attracted me to the gym initially. Was they just had the Ultimate Fighter season, Team Cruise. So a bunch of the guys, a bunch of the 155ers and 45ers and stuff, they were all at Alliance at that time. So like Miles Jury, of course,
Mm-hmm.
Vince Pichel, Justin Lawrence. Like those were all some guys that were.
Iaquinta too, right?
What's that?
Wasn't it a Raging Al Iaquinta?
Yep, Raging out too. I think he was on Team Faber though.
Well, it was weird because like I remember around the same time being in San Diego and seeing him at a Target in Chula Vista, just walking
Oh
around, and I was just like, "Huh? Like you're on the other team? Like
yeah,
what are you doing? Like you're not in SAC? Like what's going on?"
yeah, huh. Yeah. Hey man, maybe you like the other team better. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, then Alex Gustafson was there quite a bit in the early days. So I think maybe it was 2013 when he fought John Jones.
yeah, yeah,
So I saw him doing his camp out there. Plus, Brandon Vera was still in the UFC at that time. He was
yeah.
preparing for Shogun. At least those are a few of the big fights I remember when I first came out. Because of course I was a fan first, so that never goes away.
I I mean, heck, that's never gone away from me. That's kind of led me into this path right here. It's like And I don't even know why I like fighting, because it's just like
Yeah.
I don't like getting into fights. I grew up in Inglewood, and I didn't like that whole deal and gangs and everything. But like,
Yeah.
to me, I think it's the truth of it, right? Like, it doesn't matter where you trained before or how much experience you say you have, or what even belt that you've earned in a particular
Mhm.
martial art, right? I think the mats don't lie, and whether that be the
Yep.
inside of a cage, whether it be a boxing ring, at the gym, in jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, whatever, it's all the mats, right? It's all the tatame, or whatever you want to refer it to as, right? And
Yep.
that's where the truth comes out. You could say, oh, I wrestled here. Great. Get on the mat and prove it. Like, and to me, it's
Yep.
that. It's
I
the
love
most,
that.
it's,
It's the
yeah,
best.
it's like the easiest, I guess, truth serum that you
Yeah.
can kind of
Yeah.
thwart people's malarkey.
Yeah. 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 I definitely get a lot of that. I get people come to the gym all the time, and I ask what experience they have, and then find out, and then find out what that experience really was. It's
Yeah,
yeah, it's super fun. It's
yeah,
fun.
maybe a black belt in YouTube videos. That might
Yeah.
be a thing. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
hey. Sometimes that has actually paid off for some people. Like they're athletic. They're athletic enough to just watch stuff and then do it on their own in their room, and then they come in, and I'm like, man, I thought you said you had no experience. They're like, oh, I haven't. I've just messed around with my friends in my room, and like, okay, okay, that can
Well,
work sometimes.
you giving me hope, because I've got literally a library of Josh Barnett grappling DVDs and a
Oh yeah,
grappling dummy. So I'm gonna figure some stuff
yeah.
out. Is what I'm saying.
If you have a grappling dummy and you have those videos, you can get in some quality reps on some stuff. Nothing substitutes a person and an instructor, of course, but if you have the general idea, which you do, you can get in some quality reps.
I'm just saying, shrimps and side, like side get outs and whatever. Do that on the floor. You might have a 6 pack abs if you do it enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Jeff, like you're a tenured young veteran in the sport of MMA, but do you have a particular favorite either fight or fight experience in your illustrious career thus far?
uh, Favorite fight. Um, Man, I probably it's probably between two. Like there's one. I fought for a smaller show. They're called Driller Promotions in Minnesota. The guy who owns that show is actually a really cool guy, Jeremy Bjornberg. Shout out, shout out, Jeremy. Thanks for managing me. Um, but it was a smaller show. I was the co-main event it was an amateur card, and then it was just two pro fights at the end. So it was me, and then the main event was the other pro fight. And the dude I was fighting, he was kind of like he was got in my face at weigh-ins and said some stuff like, nah, can't wait to effing knock you out and this and that. And I was like, okay, all right, good for you, buddy. And then the next day, right before he walked out, I could hear him in his locker room, like shouting all this stuff, like really trying to amp himself up. But he knew I could hear him, so he's saying stuff. And then in the fight didn't go his way at all. So it was, I don't know, it was fun. It was a fun getting into someone's head, and feeling it happen.
Yeah.
The dude really thought he had my number, and he didn't. I ended up knocking him out with a flying knee in the third round. So it was pretty tight. That was a cool fight. That was a pretty cool fight. Then my LFA debut versus Bobby Lee. That fight was it was just a crazy paced fight, and just a back and forth brawl. Even still to this day, I haven't had my cardio pushed in a fight like I did in that one. I just remember my chest burning, and there was a point in the fight. I think he lost his mouthpiece,
Yes.
and it was like the middle of the third round, and he lost his mouthpiece. And while they were like getting it, they shot the camera over to both of us, and we were both like leaned over, like, you know,
Yes.
not standing up straight. We're both like, just, you know, and then the ref said go, and we're just right back to it. You know, that was yeah, it was a cool fight. I definitely felt it for a week or two after, though. So
Hey,
all
you
that
know
fun,
what?
all that fun comes with a price.
Absolutely. And I guess it was the $1 Million Man who best said, everybody's got a price.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. I do, man. I
Now,
do.
now, Jeff, in terms of goals, I mean, obviously, it's an arduous path to not only become a fighter but also maintain being a fighter, right? And
Yeah.
you are, as a coach, are essentially being entrusted with helping accomplish other people's dreams, right? But you've got
Mhm.
to have some yourself. So, what are those that keep you in the gym, keep you basically diligently achieving or striving to achieve your goal?
Yeah. Uh, I live a lot of my goals through my fighters now. I really want their success for them, and it makes me, I feel privileged just to be a part of their success now. You know, personally, personal goal, I wanna get to the UFC. I wanna get it. That was the goal I set out from the beginning. Is that I want to make it to the UFC. Um, I still want that. I still believe I can do that. And I just I need some fights, man.
Yeah.
I this has been the longest time I've ever put myself out there, just looking for a fight, and I haven't been able to get any bites between having several different people help me management wise, and then just the people I know in the fight game, and then myself uh, just reaching out to people on my own. It's crazy right now. Um, I have fists, and I'm willing to travel.
Hey, there you go. That should be either your next T-shirt or at the very least a business card.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I love it. Now, obviously, Jeff, there have been a lot of people, both professionally and personally, that have helped you get to where you are now. Again,
Mhm.
both professionally and personally. So, without any further ado, my man, take as long as you like. Let's get some shout outs out of the way.
Some shout outs? Oh man.
Dun dun dun.
Too many, too many. Number one, give a shout out to my fiance Kimberly.
That's a
Uh,
good start.
that is
Good
a good
start.
start. It's the best start. She's with me through everything, thick and thin, and without her, I wouldn't be able to do everything that I'm doing right now. So love you, babe. She's right. She's right over there. She probably hear me. Love you, babe.
Aw,
Love
yeah, there you go.
you.
Yeah,
Then man, just a shout out to all my coaches over the years, my coaches current and past. You guys, thanks all you guys for believing in me. I have literally have too many to mention. All you guys that work with me, I really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone putting in their heart into my martial arts, and living my passions with me. Um, Thank you guys.
yes.
Coach Dede, Coach Tony, Coach Frank, Coach Carl, Coach Casey, uh, who else? Coach Craig, uh, Coach Kadu. Who else? Who else?
Well,
Lots of people over the years. Lots of people over the years.
yeah. Well, even I mean, who's essentially giving you a third eye in terms of your fight acumen? Your students, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah. I that's one of the cool things about our gym, is that the coaches, there's only four of us main coaches, and all four of us are still very active in wanting to compete ourselves, and active in going to other gyms and other schools, and still just being students, so that we can relay what we're learning and bring it back to our students. That's the really awesome thing about martial arts, is that it really never ends. As long as you stick with it and stay passionate and continue to be a student your entire life, then martial arts will always have something for you and will always have a place for you. Yeah,
Yeah, I like it.
martial arts, stay in school.
Stay in school, even if that's a jiu-jitsu gym, much like Alliance East over there in the San Diego area, right? Nice
Right.
little plug there, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Appreciate
very
that.
good. Yeah, no worries. Now, Jeff, obviously, thank you for doing this. This has been amazing. To find out more about not just you, but also Alliance East, where can they find that in the interwebs of the internet?
You can follow our Instagram page. It's at Alliance Training Center East. And then myself at Jeff, the administrator. Yeah, that's all you need to know. If you need to get in touch with me, that's how to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And if you don't know, now you know. And again, guess what? There's not another administrator in MMA, so there's only one.
That's
It's
right.
not hard to find.
There's only one administrator. If someone else wants to take that throne, let me know.
Again, Hasfist will travel. Just saying.
Yep. Hasfist will travel. Any fight promoters watching this right now, shame on you for not already booking me this past year.
Shame.
It's your loss.
Your loss. But we will gain a lot more seeing the administrator step into the ring and or cage, depending on what promotion has such things. And I cannot wait to see it. And dude, thank you so much for doing this. But thank you guys for tuning in to the According to Woods.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Jeff, you're subscribed, right?
That's right.
Damn
Hit that
right.
subscribe button, y'all.
Just saying. So be like Jeff. Be like me, because it's not nepotism if you support yourself. I think it's healthy. It's healthy. But go ahead and subscribe. But if you don't believe our word for it, and I don't know why you wouldn't, well, here's Pro Wrestler Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe.